You are standing in a crowded room. There is music, laughter, and the steady hum of conversation. Outwardly, you are smiling, nodding, and participating flawlessly. But inwardly, the noise fades away, and you realize you are entirely disconnected from everyone around you. The conventional explanation for this feeling is social anxiety, extreme introversion, or a lack of interpersonal skills. But often, the cause is the exact opposite. The isolation stems from an inability to ignore what is actually happening. In a fraction of a second, the brain registers the forced pitch in a colleague's laugh. It catches the microsecond of hesitation before a polite answer, the subtle power dynamics shifting across a table, and the unspoken resentments hiding beneath casual banter. This is the burden of the internal observer. It is a cognitive mechanism that constantly monitors the environment and the self in real time. It takes in every variable, and there is no off switch. Because this observer is always running, a permanent cognitive distance forms between you and the immediate experience. Standard social rituals no longer feel like moments of connection. They feel like a meticulously choreographed play, and participating in them becomes a suffocating performance. Psychology has a clinical term for this specific way of experiencing the world: high perceptual awareness. It is an inherent neurological wiring that dictates how the nervous system absorbs information, affecting roughly 1 in 5 people. Unlike a learned skill, this awareness operates as an involuntary baseline filter. It automatically processes subtle tone shifts, contradictory body language, and implicit subtexts that bypass the average observer entirely. The immediate cost of this hyperreception is social friction. A highly aware mind cannot simply command itself to unsee the complexities of an interaction, to comfortably enjoy a hollow conversation. From the outside, this hesitation is frequently misread. People mistake it for aloofness, emotional intensity, or a superiority complex. In reality, it is simply a mind attempting to navigate an environment broadcasting on a completely different frequency. To understand why this experience is so exhausting, we have to look past personality traits and examine a neurological mechanism known as depth of processing. A standard brain moves a social input directly to a conclusion. A highly aware brain routes that same input through a complex web of interconnected nodes. This longer path forces the network into a constant state of overdrive and hypervigilance. When an individual with this wiring returns from a social event completely drained, it is not a sign that they dislike people. It is a literal depletion of their nervous system's availability budget. Retreating into a quiet, solitary space is the only way to halt the avalanche of incoming information. Solitude in this context is a biological necessity to protect a highly sensitive system from complete burnout. The burden extends beyond physical exhaustion. There is a psychological weight to this depth, specifically regarding what Carl Jung called the shadow. These are the repressed insecurities, hidden motives, and unacknowledged fears that most people go to great lengths to conceal. Highly aware individuals tend to spot these hidden realities easily. They see toxic dynamics forming and systemic problems approaching. But when they vocalize these observations, they often face the Cassandra syndrome. They speak a clear truth, only to be met with denial, resistance, or outright hostility from groups heavily invested in their illusions. To survive socially without constant conflict, a coping mechanism develops. The perceptive person learns to continuously translate their observations, deliberately shrinking their insights and softening their words to make their thoughts palatable to the room. This requires editing every sentence, modulating every reaction, and holding back the deeper questions that naturally arise. Operating this way inevitably leads to a chronic state of performance exhaustion. Spending enormous mental energy converting your reality into something others can tolerate starves you of genuine connection. You are left emotionally depleted by relationships that are heavily, consistently asymmetrical. Beneath the neurological and psychological layers lies a profound philosophical boundary. It is known as existential isolation, the stark reality that the exact shape of your inner experience can never be fully, perfectly transmitted into the mind of another human being. While the average person might go years without thinking about this boundary, a highly aware mind feels it daily. It is the friction of constantly colliding but never truly integrating with the people around you, even those you love deeply. This dynamic generates a very specific, quiet form of grief. You find yourself continuously adjusting your depth downward to meet a loved one at their maximum capacity, fully aware that the relationship has hit a permanent ceiling. You are left with a structural aloneness. It is an isolation born not from a lack of physical company, but from the inability to share the exact weight and texture of your reality with the people sitting right next to you. Psychiatrist Kazimierz Dąbrowski viewed this boundary through his theory of positive disintegration. This intense isolation is not a life sentence, but a transitional fire. Rigid conditioning breaks apart, eventually reassembling into something stronger and deeply authentic. To make it through this transition, the mathematics of human connection have to change entirely. You realize that a single, unapologetically deep conversation holds infinitely more value than dozens of superficial acquaintances. It requires you to stop softening your insights for the comfort of others. Instead, that hyper-awareness needs a dedicated container, whether that is intense creative expression, specialized intellectual work, or communities seeking the truth. Feeling out of sync with society is not a psychological breakdown. It is a necessary breakthrough, clearing the debris of small talk and conformity to make way for uncompromising authenticity. Processing the world with this much intensity is not a broken limitation to be fixed. It is a highly specialized specification, and it demands a completely different energy budget to operate correctly. You have to stop measuring your social worth and your daily capacity for interaction against standards built for minds that process the world at a fraction of your depth. Finding your actual peers requires a terrifying kind of vulnerability. You have to be willing to go first, to offer genuine depth before you know if it is safe, acting as a signal flare to the other highly aware people hiding in the room. Because when you finally take that risk, and your awareness intertwines with another mind operating on the exact same frequency, the relief is absolute. You experience a level of nourishment that proves the long periods of solitude are worth it. The goal was never to numb your perception just to fit comfortably into a crowded, noisy room. The goal is to hold your ground, protect your energy, and wait unapologetically for the rare few who are built to hear your exact frequency.